Have you ever done this? You spend hours, maybe even all night studying for a test. You're highlighting, you're rereading, and then the next day it's just gone. Poof, vanished from your brain. It is so frustrating, right? Well, what if I told you the problem isn't your brain, but your method? Today we're going to dive into a totally different approach, one inspired by Japanese philosophy that's all about trading that frantic cramming for careful cultivation.
So look at this. On the left, we've got the path most of us take, right? The cram and forget method. That's all about highlighting, rereading, basically just hoping things stick in our short-term memory. But on the right, there's a much better way: cultivate and retain. This path is built on powerful ideas like active recall and deep focus, things designed to build permanent memory. This is all about making a huge shift from being a passive consumer to an active cultivator of knowledge.
All right, let's break down the problem. We've all been taught to grab a highlighter and just go to town on our textbooks, right? Or to just reread our notes over and over. Here's the catch. Those methods are totally passive. They trick your brain. They create this illusion of competence because the words start to look familiar. But here's the thing. Familiarity is not the same as understanding. Your brain recognizes the info, sure, but it hasn't done the hard work of actually storing it.
I love this quote because it just nails it. The physical act of dragging that bright yellow marker across a page feels like you're doing something important. It looks productive. But honestly, it's one of the least effective ways to build knowledge that actually lasts. We're just mistaking motion for an actual method, activity for real achievement.
So what is the alternative? Well, we call it the samurai approach. And this isn't just a new study hack, it's a complete shift in your mindset. We're borrowing from the incredible discipline and focus of a samurai warrior, but instead of applying it to a sword, we're applying it to your mind. It's about moving away from that frantic, last-minute cramming and towards a calm, deliberate daily practice of cultivation.
And this right here, this is the core idea of the whole method. We treat our brains like computers, trying to just download files into them. But a much better way to think about it is like a garden. You can't just throw seeds on the ground and expect a harvest, right? Knowledge has to be planted. It needs to be watered. It needs to be tended to. It takes active work to grow strong roots, and that is exactly what this is all about.
This whole philosophy really stands on three main pillars. You can think of it like a samurai's training. You need the weapon, you need the discipline, and you need the dojo, the training hall. These are the core techniques that are going to transform you from a passive note-taker into an active learner. Okay, the first pillar is the most important one. It is absolutely critical. It's called active recall. So imagine a samurai who is constantly pulling out their blade to test its sharpness. That's what active recall is for your brain. Instead of just looking at the information again, you are forcing your brain to pull it out from memory, cold. That act of retrieving is what actually builds and strengthens the neural pathways. It's the difference between just looking at a map versus actually having to navigate the trail yourself.
So how do you actually do this? It's super simple. Step 1, you learn something. You read a chapter, you watch a video. Step 2, and this is the key, you close the source. Shut the book, close the laptop. No peeking. And finally, step 3, you try to explain that concept out loud or write it down in your own words as if you were teaching it to a friend. The moments you get stuck, that's gold. You've just found exactly what you need to study next.
So, active recall is your weapon. But a weapon is pretty useless without discipline, right? You need consistency. And that's our second pillar, an idea from the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen. Kaizen is all about the idea that big, massive improvements don't happen because of some huge, heroic effort. No, they happen because of small, consistent, daily gains.
And just how small are we talking? We're talking about 1%. That's it. Just think about the power of that for a second. The goal isn't to master a whole subject overnight. The goal is to just get 1% better today than you were yesterday. That tiny commitment, when it's compounded day after day, week after week, that leads to absolutely huge growth over time, and it makes the whole thing feel possible.
But okay, even with the best weapon and a commitment to daily practice, you won't get very far without a proper training ground. You need focus, and that is where our third pillar, shu, comes in. Shu can be translated as to protect, and what you're doing is creating a sacred space for your learning, a mental dojo, a fortress that you build to protect your attention from all the craziness and distractions of the modern world.
So how do you build this mental dojo? Look, it can be really simple. It could be as easy as putting your phone in a totally different room, or clearing your desk of absolutely everything except what you need for this one task. Maybe it's setting a timer for 45 minutes of pure, uninterrupted focus, or having just one clear, specific goal for your session. You're basically creating a trigger for your brain that says, okay, It's time. Now we focus.
So let's bring it all together. When you combine your weapon, which is active recall, with the daily discipline of Kaizen and the protected focus of Shu, you make a really profound shift. You stop being a passive student who just hopes information will stick around. You become an active samurai of learning, someone who deliberately and skillfully forges a sharp and reliable memory.
So it all boils down to this. Don't just cram information. Cultivate your mind. This whole thing isn't just about passing a test or getting a certification for work. It's about building a mind that grows stronger and sharper and more capable for your entire life.
And that just leaves us with one final question. For you, this isn't about some massive overhaul of your entire life tomorrow. It's about starting small, right now. Forget about perfection. Forget about trying to master everything all at once. Just ask yourself, what is the 1% you will improve today?